Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Whalenerds podcast. This is episode 133. My name is Slater, and I'm here with Caitlin,
Hello.
and we're
You're
back.
back. You're back.
I'm back. You're back. We're back.
We're back. Dude. Okay, before we get into everything, because we'll get so derailed, let's go through
And I feel
our
like it
normal.
has not a lot to do with whales at first.
Yes, we're gonna do our normal announcements first. That way we can stay on topic somewhat. First of all, thank you to everyone for supporting us. It's 133 episodes today. Whether that's on Patreon, we just got some new Patreon people. Thank you for your support. Signing up for trips. I see you guys starting to sign up for those April trips. We're so excited to see you there. And then listening to the podcast, rating, reviewing it, just telling friends about it. All of that goes a long way for us. So we really, really appreciate your support. And then a couple updates for us for 2023. So for this year, we're going to drop down to doing 2 episodes a month, just because the two of us have quite a work schedule ahead of us for this year. And so we want to make sure that we're giving ourselves time to be creative, but also time to rest with our busy work schedules. And so it'll still come out on Fridays, but it'll be like every other week or maybe 2 in the middle of the month. We'll see. But yeah, 2 episodes a month. That way we're just going to slow down the pace of recording just a little bit to do ourselves a favor, because otherwise we just get to like August and then it all goes crazy anyway.
Yeah, and you never know, we might under promise and over deliver if we have like a guest or something. So
that's true. Yeah. And we still have our blog going on our website. Those April trips are open and they're starting to fill up. So if you're thinking of going, definitely get booked, because we only do 25 seats each day. And last year they did sell out. So definitely get your bookings in on that. The website is thewhalenerds.com. And we do have merch available for our website. And then we have video versions of our episodes from 100 onwards on our YouTube. So if you want to check those out, definitely do that. Okay.
yes.
Do you want me to talk about my sightings?
Yeah, hit them with some whale stuff before we break into some
not whale stuff.
dirt stuff.
Dirt stuff. Okay, so whale season, we're in the thick of it. It is on and going in Maui. I feel like February is always baby whale month. Like there's just so many baby whales everywhere. It's just insane. And a couple times over the last like 2 weeks, we've had so many mom and calf pairs like within close proximity of each other that it's like some of the moms start to get irritated. Like they don't like it when the calves get too close together when they're down here. When they're in the feeding grounds, they don't care. But like when they're here, they're like, no, stay away from my baby. And a couple times on the trip, I've like leaned my head out the window and said to the passengers, these 2 mom and calf pairs are too close together. One of the moms is going to freak out, I bet. And they're like, what? And then one of the moms will like breach, or she'll like push the calf suddenly and make a big wake and like move them away from the boat because they're just getting too close together. And the cat, like one of them, the calf was just like, la, 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 like swimming towards this other mom calf pair, no care in the world. And the mom was like, dude, like, let's go.
Do you think that it's, well, probably a couple reasons, but do you think one of the reasons might be because the calf could try to nurse on that mom?
Yeah, I think that's the main reason, is that they don't want that to be feeding a calf that's not theirs. Kind of like elephant seals are like that too on the beach. Like when there's another pup around, they start screaming at it.
Yeah, I've seen video. Yeah, that's in a lot of documentaries.
So, and then one encounter we had where the moms and calves started to get too close together, the escort stepped in and chased off the other mom calf pair. It was so weird.
Huh.
And then like that escort, he like came and he had a really white belly. So he came upside down and like did this big swoop maneuver in front of the boat. And we could see it all because he was glowing underwater basically. And the one mom and calf swam off away from the boat. And then he went back to the original mom calf pair he was with. And then she like kicked him out and he like left her and started breaching. And we were like, what just happened?
It's like, this is my mama.
Yeah. He's like, get away from them, and like trying to defend her. And then when he went back to her, she was like, get away from me.
It's so incredible how many different like situations can occur while whale watching.
Yeah.
That like, even though we watch them almost every single day, like still new things or different things.
Oh
like,
yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's just always new every day. Like every trip.
Yep. And then I did actually see something I've never seen before. We came up on it was our second trip of the day, so it was pretty warm. It was like 11 o'clock departure. Came up on a mom who had been sleeping. Like I'd seen her since we left the harbor, just that dorsal fin out of the water. And when I slowed down and got to her, I was like, why does her back look weird? So I got the binoculars out to look closer. Her skin was dry. She'd been
From laying at
floating.
the surface,
Yeah, she'd been floating with her back out of the water for so long, her skin was dry.
just like from that day or for like days.
No, just from that day, like probably
Oh,
just over
okay.
the course of
That's
like
funny.
45 minutes or however long she was laying there.
Okay, that kind of relates to hippos. I want to talk,
Yeah.
about that later. I'm surprised a bird hadn't just landed.
Yeah. Well, we don't really have
I was
birds
just gonna
here
say,
like
there's
that.
no
Yeah.
gulls like to
Yeah.
land on the back of
No,
a
if there
humpback.
was gulls here, one definitely would have landed on this whale if it laid there long enough that her skin dried out.
Yeah, that is
So
funny.
yeah, it was pretty cool. We had I had my first double digit competition group of the season. I think it was like 11 or
Ooh.
12 whales.
Nice.
That was pretty cool to see. And I did see a mom who was all the way ran over by a boat. It's all healed up, but she looked like a stegosaurus, like down her back. The prop scars
Dang.
were crazy.
It's just like smooth black, like bulbs, like
Yep.
kind of looking thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I don't know. I think it was probably a pretty decent sized propeller, like probably a 60+ foot long boat. And it just like went all from like halfway between her dorsal fin to her blowhole all the way down to her dorsal fin.
From her blowholes.
Yeah. Like from like maybe 4 feet back from the blowhole all the way to the dorsal fin.
Dang.
Yeah. But she had a cap. She looked good. Everything's healed. So
Dang. Imagine. Well, it's probably if it's that healed, then it happened
a
years
while
before.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say it'd be crazy. Imagine if she was pregnant and it happened. It's
Yeah.
like your mom is a boss.
Yeah.
She fought a boat and
I mean, and she still could like fluke normally, like her posture looked okay. So even though it was like right on her spine, I think
oh, do you think that
it
just
was,
hurts so bad?
yeah.
It's kind of weird. You realize that any propeller touches us, we're dead. And like a
Yeah.
humpback can handle a propeller just drilling
Yeah.
across the back and then
Yeah.
still live.
Yeah. I mean, humans are pretty resilient too, but
Did you
yeah,
get like an ID on that whale? Has that whale been seen before there with that scar?
I don't think I got her fluke. I'll have to look, but I don't think I got her fluke ID. I think my naturalist did, so somebody did, but
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Huh. Well, that's sad and cool, I guess.
Yeah. And then we've had a couple singers like under the boat. You can hear it through the boat with the engines off, which is like my favorite thing ever.
And you had something else happen in the Hawaiian Islands. That was pretty insane.
Oh yes, I didn't see it, but we did share the report that came out a couple days ago. A helicopter tour company found whales feeding in Hawaii.
Where at?
I don't
I
know
only saw the
exactly
photos.
where.
Okay.
I don't know exactly where. I think that company is
Okay, let
Maui
me say something.
based.
Just so you know, I already knew this was going on. Like I just, it's just kind of how like the gray whales, where it's like it's just like things have changed and we learned people have learned more. Scientists have learned more over the years, right? Like they say, like
Yeah.
whales aren't eating on the migration, and it's like no, gray whales are picking up mud all up and down the coast the whole time, and then it's like okay, well. And then people in San Ignacio will even say that gray whales are feeding there, like they're
Or at
picking
least
up
trying.
or trying
Yeah,
or whatever. It might not
trying.
be a
Yeah.
lot, but I mean, if they're going to be laying in the mud, they might as well scoop some up and sift through it. It's not, abnormal for them. And so I'm just saying. And those, what are those fish called? The lancer fish?
Lantern.
Lantern fish. So the
Yeah.
lantern fish, the dolphins are feeding on them. I mean,
Well, we also have like
is
a
that what it
Hawaiian.
was?
We also have like a Hawaiian sardine. So
Okay.
like
Do you
we
know what
even
it
have
was?
a bigger bait fish. I don't know. It doesn't say. And the photos, because they're from the
It's
helicopter.
just dark school of fish. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But we've had a lot of tuna lately, like on the north shore of Maui. There's been tuna for weeks, like big ones. And I even saw some small tuna in between the islands of Maui. I was seeing them in Maalaea Bay, and I was seeing them on the west side towards Alawalu. So there's definitely a lot of bait around because it's bringing in those big predatory fish.
It's got to happen. Maybe it happens at night more.
Yeah,
Whales
maybe.
feed at night.
Yeah, they do.
It
I
obviously
mean,
just might not be enough. Like that, they're all like some whales might not care. Like the males might not care, but a female might care. Like, you know what I mean?
well,
Because
yeah,
they're
and
not
then
as
there's
hungry.
not those photos are like all adult whales, right? So like, do moms with calves take a break to feed, or do they feel like they can't leave their calf unattended? You know, because I never really see them get more than 50 yards apart.
That's new science.
It is new science. That is so cool. I
Yeah.
bet they talk about it at Whale Tales next week.
Ooh. Oh, question. How is the visibility getting because of all that craziness? Because when your parents were first there, it was a lot of
Oh yeah, it
muddy
rained
water.
for like 5 days.
Yeah.
It rained a lot. It's better. It's definitely a lot better.
Okay, because I mean, I'm coming, you know what I'm saying?
You
I'll
need
be
to calm
there in
down.
how many days? Like, I leave. Oh, in 7 days exactly, I leave. So in
Yeah.
7 days, they better clear it up because I'm coming in hot.
Well,
for
I
some
can't
turtles.
guarantee what's going to happen in the next 7 days, but right
Hey.
now it's clear.
Okay, fine.
I mean, that's how I felt when my parents were coming. I was like, oh yeah, everything's been really good.
Was the
And then
whole
bam.
coast like was the
Yeah.
whole so like
Yeah.
Lahaina, like everything?
Everything was full of that red lava
I'm gonna
dirt.
get a little leaf blower, bring it with me. Blow it off the beach. All right.
But yeah, it's good. Right now, Maui's good. And I know some of you listeners have been here because you've been messaging me saying you're here, saying hi,
Woo.
yelling at me in Lahaina Harbor.
Nice.
So it's been good to hear from you guys.
Oh, I'm talking shaved ice. Actually, I gotta go. I gotta go get some shaved ice.
Oh my god!
I gotta practice.
Where can you get shave ice in Monterey?
Nowhere. I'm opening a stand on
Oh my god.
Colorado Street. And I'm gonna have the ice imported from Maui. It's gotta have a little salty air to it.
You need the machine imported, not the ice.
Yeah, it will melt. Yeah, I'm very excited to go to Maui.
Yeah,
We have like
cool.
3 or 4 trips a day scheduled. Oh,
Do you really?
Yeah, but we kind of put them all down, and we told them like we may like not go on like one of them, and
Mhm.
you know, and we might
Yeah.
not skip like the middle of the day to go snorkeling and stuff or something.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
and then we got to schedule a trip on with you guys for the stars.
Oh
Are you
yeah.
doing that? Not you, but
No, I don't work that trip.
they are doing it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, every
Okay, yeah.
Saturday night with Harriet.
My tie and some stars. So yeah, I want to schedule that too.
So, all right, let's hear it, dude. You went to Africa.
I don't know exactly how to put it into words, but it's, I guess you could say, kind of life-changing in a way. It is life-changing, and you instantly feel like when you're there, like, how can I come back here? Because
Yeah.
it's amazing. The people are super nice. The landscapes are kind of ridiculous. I don't know, just crazy, like it's just ridiculous. And actually, it was way more green than I thought. Obviously, it was because of the areas we were into.
Yeah.
Like Amboseli is a big like marshland, and it has all the water coming down from Kilimanjaro. But yeah, it was really green, and I think that one of the craziest things is the abundance of animals that were there. Like in the Amboseli in particular, you're looking out at like, let's say you're looking at watching an elephant, but like behind this elephant, there's dozens more elephants, and then there's hundreds of zebras and wildebeest, and there's just, and then there's like way in the distance you might see a giraffe like cruising past, like chewing on some trees. And so the abundance of animals is crazy, and then the amount of different species that like you can see, like, so let's say we're like cruising along the wetlands, there could be like flamingos, spoonbill, what is it, marabou storks. There's Margot found this bird called a black umbrella bird, which is like, so it's like a, you know, like a greenish red, or like a heron, like you know what I'm talking about, like that
A
style.
reddish heron.
Yeah.
What is it?
It looks like
Green
it kind of looks
heron
like
or whatever.
egret. Yeah, like those
Yeah.
ones. Okay, so there's a black umbrella. It's called a black umbrella bird, and it literally takes its feathers and covers it over its head and makes it looks like a little black umbrella on the water. And then fish go under for shade,
Yeah.
and then
And then
it
it
grabs
catches
them.
them. That's
Yes.
so cool.
And like we saw that, and it's like that's like something you see, you know, like a unique animal that they'd put into like BBC or something, right?
Yeah.
And they would
Like
like
David
track this
Attenborough
animal.
should be talking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. And so like it was so cool. And then like the spoonbill is like annoying it and like pecking at its butt while it's trying to like hunt. And like because it's trying to steal the fish that go under it and stuff. And yeah, and so what was really cool is these elephants are in this marsh water, like up to their shoulders, and they're
Mhm.
like just walking through the mud, like it's no big deal, and like shoulder high, muddy water, kind of grabbing the greens, the grass and stuff, and
I
then
mean,
they're
elephants swim.
yeah, and then there's just hippos right next to them, like in the same spot,
Yeah.
and I think because they're all like herbivores, that they're all just chill with each other.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean maybe they're eating the same thing, but they're luckily there's enough of it that they don't need to compete.
Yeah, and so it's really cool. And then there's buffalo right next to them and sitting in the mud or like eating, doing the same thing. And it's cool because the elephants they'll like pull this like they'll pull like I don't know what it is exactly they're eating. It's like a lot tall grass, so basically, and they'll pull it and they'll yank it out of the water, and then they'll whack it across the water to get the mud off, and then
Clean it
eat it.
up.
Yeah, they clean it
Nice.
and then eat it.
Nice.
Um, yeah, and then the Masai Mara is just like incredible landscapes, crazy, like just long, grassy, green hills with like random oh shoot, I forget the name of the tree. It's not an acacia tree. I forget. It's just like these one random trees that are like every like so many like sometimes a mile between like the
Mhm.
trees, and there's just one. It's like that very typical like tree like you feel like
The
you see with the
typical
sunset.
Africa
Yeah.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah. And um and then like Chase was telling us, he's like, I was like, are we gonna see like how many lions are we gonna see? And he's like, it won't be how many lions you'll see, it'll be like what lions do we go see? Like
Mhm.
there's like lions over here, there's a pride over here, there's a male sitting under a tree here, and they kind of like know where they're all at, like because there's a lot
Yeah.
of people communicating and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'll never forget. We like first pulled into the Mara, and in the Mara, you can kind of go off road more than you can in the Amboseli.
Mhm.
In the Amboseli, you're like stuck to the road, and there's not
Yeah.
really like off roading. A little and so there's more like off roading in the Mara. And so when we first get in there, our we kind of split into two cars, and then we're driving, and then he goes, "Oh, have you seen these before?" And he just like turns off the road and like goes towards them. I'm like, wow, like this is awesome. And so it was, and he showed us these animals called topi, which are really cool. They have really cool coloration. They're kind of like a wildebeest looking animal. And then there's also another thing called a heart beast, which is really cool. Their horns shape into a heart.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah. And so, anyways, we're driving, and then he kind of didn't tell us, but he got on the radio and they're talking Swahili. So he
Mhm.
got on the radio, and the other car had found a lion, like a pride of lions, or actually it was just a mom and her cubs. And so we're driving, and then he just pulls in between these two bushes, and then he's like, "Look out the window." And I look left, like 4 feet away is a mom and her cub, like literally just
Oh
outside the
my
car
God.
window. And so that was our first. We did see lions in Amoseli, but they were kind of far.
Yeah.
So that was our first like encounter, I would say, with lions. And Margot and I look out the window, and it's like 4 feet away, and she just like opens her eyes and is looking at us, and we're like, wow, if she wants to, she could just jump through this window. But they don't. They like stare at you and look there, and then they just go back to sleep while watching you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Um,
you went to Kenya with Chase
yeah.
Decker, who's been
Yeah.
a guest on our podcast. And so you went to are both of those places you went to
Separate.
wildlife refuges?
Yeah. National. Well, yeah. They're national parks, but like
Mhm.
the Masai Mara, something about it, it's like half government owned and half like
Mhm.
owned by like a reserve or something, but
Yeah.
they're still one place.
Yeah.
Um, and then we also went to a place called Lake Naivasha, which is really cool. Um, Literally the hippos come out. So the hippos get out of the water at night, and
Mhm.
where we stayed, like in this like I don't know, you call it a resort, I
Camp.
guess, or like
Yeah.
can't. Yeah, there's like a big fenced off like half circle that goes to the water, and the
Mhm.
hippos come up in there and they keep it they close the gates. Like you can walk during the day, and there's like giraffes in there, zebras,
Mhm.
and they'll just sleep in there overnight or leave if they want to, but then they have to close the gates at night because the hippos will come through,
Mhm.
and they'll be in front of your house, so
Oh my God.
like literally like right in front of your hotel. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so they close at night, and then you can like shine a flashlight out and see hippos just chomping all the
Oh my
grass.
gosh.
And so in this same place, we did a boat tour in one of the days, and it's like kind of sketchy. It's not, it's like actually not scared. I didn't feel scared at all, but I can see how people would feel scared
Yeah.
because there's like a hippo like 150 feet away, and
Yeah.
it's just like laying in the water, and it's definitely looking at you. And you're like, and it's not like it's laying. It can probably run underwater really
Yeah.
easily. And
Yeah.
so if it wanted to like charge the boat, it could. And then there's fishermen in this water, not with boats. They swim out, put their nets to catch tilapia,
Oh.
and they so they set their nets during the day, and then they
Uh-huh.
let it overnight, and then they go get them in the morning. Literally, they said there's like average of like 9 deaths a year in the lake from fishermen
Because
getting.
of the hippos?
Yes, the hippos kill the fishermen.
Oh my God.
And then get this, they so these people go in the water, they're swimming like hundreds of feet away from hippos. I think they kind of like they probably know, so the fishermen know how to like avoid them probably. But it's like if the thing
Yeah.
goes underwater and comes up right next to you, how do you avoid that,
Oh
right?
my God.
And so yeah, and then we go and buy a fish from the fishermen
Mm-hmm.
to feed to show like the fishing eagles, and they come down like instantly, just like regular eagles, but they're super beautiful. And so we buy fish, $3 for the fish in their money. So like 300
Dude.
shillings. It's like, so it's like like not even a dollar or whatever, like $1.50. And so it's like that they do it for $3. So like
Holy
they
crap.
like it's pretty crazy. So
Dang.
yeah, the amount of like work they put in to sell those fish and like risk their lives with hippos is pretty incredible.
Dude, you should have freaking paid him double.
We did. No, we did. You tipped the fishermen and tipped the like boat crew. But
Oh, good.
so then after so we went yeah, so it's Amboseli, then Lake Naivasha for like 2 nights. And then one of those days we drive to another lake. Lake Nakuru. And that's where we saw our first northern white rhinos and northern black rhinos, and they were separate.
Cool.
And you want to know a cool fact? That
Yes.
the northern, like the white rhino actually wasn't, they didn't mean to call it a white rhino. It's actually a wide mouth rhino that they like messed up the pronunciation. So it just became white rhino and black
Oh.
rhino. So it was supposed to be like the northern wide mouth rhino, but they
Yeah,
like
yeah.
messed up I guess supposedly they like, I don't know if that's factual, but that's what they said. So, I mean, I kind of believe it.
I mean, that's what the local guide said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we saw both of those. Really cool. They were actually like out down by the water, and then we were all just, there's like 3 cars parked, and they ended up walking right towards us. Like they were far, they were like a quarter mile away, and so we just sat there, and the rangers had like gone over there, so I don't know if that's what moved them out, but like because rangers like are heavily guarding rhinos, and
Mm-hmm.
so they went over there, and then like one of them got out of the car and then like got back in the car, and I don't know if that's why the rhinos moved, but they walked right towards us and went between our cars. But it was cool because they
Wow.
like kind of like looked at the cars for a minute and then like turned around and walked away, then came back. So they were like trying to choose whether they should run through. And then when they get between the cars, they like gallop like really quickly between the cars. And there was also a little baby too, so it's kind of why I think.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so really cool, and they have really long horns.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah,
Yeah, amazing when you leave them alone what their horns actually look like.
yeah, it's really cool because in all 3 places there were rangers with
Yeah.
like AKs or like
Mm-hmm.
assault rifles guarding the animals, even the
Mm-hmm.
lions. And actually even so something else is the cheetahs are even being guarded because the cheetahs are having it the worst. Their cubs keep getting eaten by like hyenas. Like so I could go on a huge another rant, but yeah, basically they're guarding the cheetahs too to make sure that their cubs can like survive. They're trying to scare off like leopards and lions away from cheetah cubs because the
Oh,
cheetahs aren't doing very well. But from what Chase says, is Chase said that like evolution, how do you say that?
evolutionarily.
Yeah, that cheetahs are kind of just like not built for like surviving, like compared to the other like lions and leopards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then like hyenas are a big problem for them, taking out their cubs. So yeah, it was incredible, and there were so many birds. I saw bee eaters, I saw kingfishers, malachite kingfisher, gray-headed kingfisher. There's a giant kingfisher, which all kingfishers are super cool.
Yeah, they're really pretty birds.
Yeah. The fishing eagle was really pretty. It's like all brown on the backside, and then like and then the chest to face is white.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but oh, okay. So we can transition from we'll start with hippos, and then we can go into it. So we had hippos next to there was hippos everywhere we went actually, but like in the Mara, they were along the river. And so in the Mara, at the like this place called Sand River, our camp like was along the edge of the river, but up on a hill. And so like the hippos come out and do walk through your tents at night. So you have to like stay in your tent or call someone to come like walk you to the main tent if you want to go get drinks or something.
Yeah.
Only at night though.
Yeah.
And so mostly you're in your tent at night going to bed anyways, because it's like it's a long day of safaris. But yeah, we're walking back from dinner and there's a hippo in the middle of the walkway. And so we're like, there's like 7 of us and the like guy walking us to our tents, and he's just shining the light at the hippo, and the hippo kind of takes off and is like doesn't know where to go through all these tents. No. It's like stampeding around. But yeah, it ended up, I don't know if it went back to the water, just moved on like somewhere else in the area.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they feed. But during breakfast one of the mornings, we went to a different part of the Mara River, and it's like where there's actually a crossing during the Great Migration. And so it's kind of like low in that area, and you can like, we're up on a cliff and we can look down, and there's tons of hippos. And there was there was like a male that was defending his little group of girls. His harem, he's fighting, and they're fighting each other and stuff. And then there's like all these hippos that are like the sun is behind them, and so it's like casted over another cliff on the other side. So they're in this, there's like in this group of like this bit of shade. And so when these hippos come up for air, literal gray whale spouts, like, and you can see it in the like perfect. They just look like spouts. Yeah. And so it's, I don't know, they're just straight up whales. I mean, they act like whales. They sit there. I think you texted me after that, and you're like, dude, hippos are whales. Yeah, and then they're walking around underwater blowing bubbles, and so it's just like they're whales. You know what I mean? So, and it really does make sense. Like gray whales do make sense to be a hippo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think about,
I mean,
like,
gray whales dig around in the sand.
Yeah. So.
Okay, well, let's talk about how hippos and whales are related. That's what I prepared for this episode, because I knew you'd seen a lot of hippos. So, we're going to take it back to our favorite book, Spying on Whales. We're going to be talking about Pakicetus and all that good stuff, way back in the family tree of whales and hippos.
My favorite.
So, this article is titled Hippos and Whales, Unlikely Cousins. Scientists in the late 1700s first noticed similarities between whales and hippos through their reproductive organs, but thought that was incidental. It wasn't until the 1980s when a skeleton of Pakicetus was first discovered, containing remnant bones found only in whales and even-toed hoofed animals such as camels, pigs, and giraffes. Another thing that linked their family trees, which is Artiodactyla and Cetacea, is their ear bones. So they have 2 unique features, the involucrum and the sigmoid process, which allows whales to hear underwater. Pakicetus' skeleton also had a very unique shaped ankle bone containing a double pulley feature only seen in even-toed hoofed animals, and not even in odd-toed hoofed animals such as horses and rhinos. So even though a rhino might look like it could potentially be related to a hippo, if you look at their ankles, they're different. So based on the fossil record, scientists have determined that whales are related to land-dwelling animals that lived on Earth between 52 and 47 million years ago. These early whales were adapted to coastal habitats, and over time, they were slowly able to transition to the fully marine mammals that we recognize today. So hippos and whales share that common ancestor that lived on land that made the transition to water. But then hippos branched off like 50 million years ago and kind of stayed semi-aquatic, and then whales went full marine. So the first whale that we know of doesn't really look anything like a whale at all. It's an ancient whale named Pakicetus. Pakicetus lived entirely on land, but was well adapted to swimming like dogs or bears. And Pakicetus was bear-like, but then the next animal in line that became more aquatic, Ambulocetus, had bigger feet, thicker thighs, and a tail more suitable for swimming. But it covered in hair, like it looked like a furry alligator. And then this creature was still living on land, but very comfortable in the water from 48 to 41 million years ago. So then the next one in line that transitioned to become towards more like a whale, I'm going to say this wrong probably, Cuchicitus, was entirely marine. It had a flat tail that would be used for swimming by moving up and down. And then its snout became elongated and the nostrils were on the top to allow its body to be more submerged in water while still breathing. And then the eyes were located near the top of its head so it could see prey near the shore, but its body was underwater. So that's actually kind of how a hippo looks too, right? Like their eyes and their nose are up above the water, but the rest of their body is submerged.
Ooh, Cuchicitus is kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
It's got some
And
teeth too.
Then they became the transition to Myocetus and Dorudon. And those are the final examples of ancient whales becoming fully marine. Their hind limbs actually were still on their body, but not attached to their spine. And they were more used for like steering than they were for propulsion, and they couldn't support any weight on land. And then their ear bones continued to change a little bit to be better adapted to hearing underwater. And then their jaws kind of changed to be able to grip and slice their prey.
Dang.
So even though like hippos and whales separated off, there is kind of like that Cuchicitus animal. Hippos still share like some characteristics of that.
The Durodon, have you seen a picture or like a illustration of it? I mean, it's pretty. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just like, it totally makes sense. Dang, I've said it once, I've said it again. We got to go back and photograph some stuff. I mean.
So then there's another article I found on Berkeley's website, which covers a lot of the same stuff, but talks a little bit more about how scientists figured some of this stuff out. So they talk about how compared to other early whales, Indocetus and Pakicetus, the one that makes the next step, Ambulocetus, actually lived a much more aquatic lifestyle. Its legs were shorter, its hands and feet were enlarged like paddles, and its tail became more long and muscular. And so that helped them determine that this is the next step of an animal that started to live more aquatic because of those features. But also the fossils are in rock layers that show that it used to be an estuary, like where the animal died, it died in an estuary. And then they were able to take isotopes of the oxygen in its bones and determine like what it was eating and drinking. Jeez. And the animal had indications of eating and drinking in fresh and salt water. So that's
like
where
marsh water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Moss Landing. Like that's a freshwater input meeting the ocean. And so studying those isotopes, you can kind of go, okay, this animal's starting to spend a lot of time in the water and it's starting to spend time in salt water. And then once they looked further down the line at like Cuchicitus and further down, then those isotopes were showing that those animals were basically exclusively living in salt water. And then
there was a point where they could drink salt water somewhat.
Yeah,
because it was a mix, but probably not a lot.
Yeah, and then the composition of the ocean changed over time too. So the ocean was not the same chemical makeup back then as it is today. So it may have been easier for their body to process because it had less of certain minerals in it. And that's in the article too. So if you're a chemistry nerd and you want to look at that, I'll put the link up on the Facebook post with the episode so you can kind of see. It's a cool graph of like all the different kinds of animals and the isotopes and like the composition of the water in the ocean. And then, that Cuchicitus transition again with the longer snout, something that's starting to look more like a blowhole. And then the eyes are still on top of the head, which that changes later on. So that making that transition to fully aquatic obviously shows the relation to today's whales. And then having those limbs separate on the back of the animal away from the spine and become more like paddles and then become basically useless. And then how their tail moved. So when you watch a whale swim, right, their whole spine is moving up and down. It's moving vertical in the water column. And so that is a remnant of being a land animal, because when you look at sharks and fish, their tail moves horizontally back and forth because those animals stayed in the ocean and never came out onto land and then went back. So having it move up and down shows that that animal came to land because its spine needed to change how it moved on 4 limbs, and then they went back to the sea.
Dang.
That part I was like, oh, I never thought about it like that.
Well, so I'm looking at that first chart, the evolution of whales.
Mm-hmm.
So when the hippo started changing, yeah, it's kind of like 3 different. Look, it's what is it?
Indecitus.
Is that what it is?
Hang on, let me
I
pull
can't
it
read
up
it.
again.
Endoisis and Pakicetus, and so there's like a couple right there that it's like. So this is like millions of years between each one of those animals.
Yeah, so the common ancestor between the Endoheus and the Pakicetus with the hippo is like 55 million years ago, and then the hippos kind of stayed on their own track, and then these other animals turned into whales. So it's a little bit, the way it's drawn, it's a little bit confusing on the the family tree.
Yeah, because it looks like it goes hippo, then all of these things, and then
yeah. So really, what you want to look at is the fact that there's a branch between the hippo and the rest of those animals. So there was a common land animal that they were all related to, and then that animal split into different versions of things.
Sheesh.
I know, crazy. Just
who makes this stuff? Who wrote this stuff?
I don't know. Does it have the author at the bottom of this? Oh, it has all the papers, but I don't think it says who actually wrote it at Berkeley, this particular article.
So much stuff.
But yeah, I think it was cool to think about the spine thing, right? Like these animals came out of the ocean, evolved on land, and then went back to the ocean. And when they were out of the water, they evolved 4 limbs, and then they went back to the water and they got rid of 2 of them. But their spine still is set up as if they had 4 limbs.
Set up that, yeah, it's just so yeah. I mean, it's set up for if they were running on all 4s.
Yes.
Dang.
Yes.
Who did this? And who started moving their blowholes? What I don't get is like, it's like the blow, like, so their nostrils are at the tip of the nose, right? And then it slowly moves back.
Yep.
But how and why? And like, when is it like every like 500 years? Are they moving a little further?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the result of random mutation, right? And when you look at actually that part of it only happened, I think, over the course of like 10 million years, which is really short when you think about how long it takes for things to randomly mutate. Like 10 million years is a short amount of time for it to go from like the front of the face to like a blowhole.
But this mutation you're talking about is like artificial. Like, how does it tell the DNA to start changing?
Every time animals mate and have a baby, you get a random combination of genetics coming through.
But it's
right?
like, but you got to understand, it's like your body's DNA is writing how much, like it's writing a code of how many times you went in the water, and it's like, you really don't need this.
So sort of,
and then you know what I mean?
Some of it is like, oh, a random combination came together, and now this animal survives better. So it's going to have more babies than everybody else. And this random change in the code is going to stay because this animal's having more and more babies, and all the rest are not going to have as many babies. So then that becomes the dominant feature.
But they have to, but they still have to mate with that one that looks different.
Yes. But if that one that looks different also has way better fitness and lives longer, then it's going to have more potential for mates.
And so it's not like just one is like, it's not like it just happened to one animal. Like it probably happened to multiple and then their offspring, right? Like it's not like just one animal had 2, then their 2 grew up and then their 2 had 2. And then, you know what I mean?
It's hard to say. It could have been both. But yeah, that's why it's like 10 million years. It takes 10 million years for that to happen, which when you think about the grand scheme of how long these animals have existed, that's a short amount of time, but it's still 10 million years to make those changes just by these animals breeding.
So do you think we'll look different at 10 million years? Well, we're not going to be here anyways.
Well, that's also true.
But we would, right?
I mean, think about, how did you make a teacup chihuahua out of a wolf?
Yeah, that's weird.
Did
they though?
selective breeding. People like certain traits, so then they bred the two dogs together that had those traits, so their babies would have those traits, and then just so on and so on and so on.
Is there a dog evolution picture like this? It's like a wolf and then a teacup poodle.
So then the other thing that's pretty interesting to think about is hippos and whales and how their skin deals with water. Do you want to talk about your observations with hippos and their skin?
Well, I was going to tell you that hippos, actually all the animals like to have birds on their back, but hippos are swimming around in the water, like with their backs out of the water, not swimming, they're like walking around, and they'll have like a cattle egret standing on their back. It's kind of funny.
Is the cattle egret just fishing, or is it eating stuff off the hippo?
No, it's just like catching a ride. I don't know. Let me see if it's the cattle egret. There's a couple birds that hang around them. Yeah, it is the cattle egret. So I think what happens is when the hippo starts to feed, it like stirs up bugs from the grass, and the cattle egret's picking it. Same with the elephants. It'll do it with a lot of the animals.
Yeah.
But it seems like the hippos and the elephants, they're usually following them around.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's crazy because there's another bird I'm trying to think that was doing it too. But I mean, this hippo's just chomping, and like you'll see it, like the bird is almost between the mouth, like it's really trying to get in there and grab stuff. Yeah, it's like, but it's
have you seen them in Maui, the cattle egrets in Maui, when they when the landscapers are mowing? Dude, they are like right where the propeller, like the blade kicks out from the mower.
So same thing.
They have their face like right in there. They're like chasing the mower right by the blade, just with their head in there. I'm like, oh my God, how do you not get shredded?
The first one probably did. And they're like, hey, don't go that close. Dang. So, I mean, they have a symbiotic relationship with a lawnmower. I mean, that's a sad fact.
Cattle egrets, they're ruthless, man. They don't care.
I mean, that's like the sad fact of the killer whales in Norway, right? They're like hoping some of the fish fall out of the net when they're fishing for the herring up there.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Oh man. Okay. So 50 plus million years ago, hippos and whales split off. They came from early mammals. So these animals had a lot of body hair until both sides of this family tree started using the water more, right? So the current scientific thinking is that aquatic skin traits were already present in the amphibious ancestor of hippos and cetaceans, which is whales, dolphins, porpoises. But there remains a debate on how and when cetaceans fully returned to the water. So they researched hippos and whales, and they were looking at their skin and how it deals with water, because they are technically mammals. They do still technically have hair. Like hippos have hair on their face, but also all over their back.
Yeah,
whales have hair on their face. So then the researchers looked at like the genes that control how skin is made in the body of these animals, and they actually got genetics from a pygmy hippo as well, which helped kind of like crack the code. So they found out that whales and hippos evolved their ability to have aquatic skin independently, because it's not like when we get in the water, we get all wrinkly and pruny, right? And then our skin layers become really soft, and like you're more prone to get cuts and things like that. Like our skin is not made to be in the water all the time. Like imagine if you were in the water for 48 hours.
Yeah.
Your skin would be like, what the heck? But they're normally adapted for that. So they found out that the hippo lineage had genes to adapt to the water much, much more recently than whales did. And whales completely lack sweat glands, but hippos have these specialized sweat glands that produce this thing that looks like blood. So they call it blood sweat, because their sweat is orange.
Is that what makes their skin look?
I think that some of it, but look it up, because the pictures are crazy of it. So their orange colored sweat, not only is it sweat, it also has antimicrobial and sunscreen properties in it, because
so
they're like
oily.
Yes, and they're semi-aquatic. So they need sun protection. Like whales, they don't really get that sunburned because they can dive down out of the sunlight. They definitely do get a little bit of a sunburn when they're in the breeding grounds because the water is so clear. But in general, they don't get that sunburned as long as they're healthy and swimming normally.
They also hippos secrete. Hold on one second. Let me Google it. They also have this like they secrete the stuff from their eyes to keep like the stuff out of their eyes secret.
Yes. Yes.
It's like this white stuff. It comes out of everything. They don't have true
It's called
sweat glands.
sebum, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we had
Yes.
like it looks like in my and it's funny because I went live on Instagram, but like this whale had like white coming out of both of its eyes and like out of its mouth. It looked like it was dying, but it was
The
like it
hippo
just,
did. Yeah.
yeah, but it wasn't. It was fine.
So the skin of whales is way thicker because they're fully in the water. But hippos, they have more of like a, sorry, let me read this again. In addition, the epidermis is much thicker in cetaceans, but given their fully aquatic lifestyle, the skin does not act as a barrier to desiccation as it does in hippos, which retain a more primitive skin type overall. So hippos, they have to coat their skin with that oil so that they don't dry out. Whereas whales, like, they're never going to dry out because they're in the water, right?
Yeah.
Well, except for that one that I saw, her dorsal fin was dry.
And I bet you that probably looks how the hippos look because they look crusty, like on the top. If they're,
Yeah.
because sometimes they are just have their backs out of the water. Mainly they just put their heads up and breathe.
Yeah.
And then they go under for like 5 minutes or whatever and sit there.
I think being in the water like that with that big of a body size helps them regulate their body temperature in addition to protect them from getting sunburned. But it's pretty crazy that they like secrete stuff that keeps their skin clean, like antimicrobial, like soap, you know? And then also is a sunscreen. Can you imagine you just sweated sunscreen out? That'd be cool.
Yeah. Also, hippos poop really weird.
Yes, they do.
Have you seen that?
Yes.
And it happened like many times, and they just spin that tail like a freaking windmill.
Yep. They say that's to mark their territory. It pulverizes the
really?
feces and then spreads it as a way to mark territory.
Yeah, well, they do a good job at it. Better than dogs when they fake scratch like 20 feet away from where they pooped.
So, yeah. So things you had to evolve to become a semi-aquatic and then fully marine animal. You had to have your nose on top of your head. You had to have special skin. You had to lose most of your body hair.
You know,
and then your legs. You had to lose your legs to become fully marine.
and they grunt a lot. The
Hippos?
hippos do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like at night when you're sleeping, you'll hear like hippos like like they just sound like that. And then you'll hear let's see, like let me look it up so I can like try to, it's like the lion. You'll hear the lion at night. Oh yeah, the morning call. It's like when they just wake up at night, it's like this low. It's like a purr, but not a purr. It's like it's so weird, and you're like, you can, and it could be like a mile away or like miles away.
Yeah.
You're hearing these lions wake up, and it's like right around like right after sunset and gets dark. If you're laying in there, you'll hear them do it. I posted a video of one doing it in the morning, but it's loud. It's like really pretty loud.
Yeah, it carries.
And they also can like roar really, really loud too.
Yeah.
And that you can definitely hear from miles. But yeah, they'll like do it. And then like, cause the males will be by themselves for the most part. And then the lioness, like the pride will be somewhere. And then, yeah, they'll just be separated. And then when the male wakes up, he'll like roar and like let them know where they're at.
Yeah.
And we watched, we had like 13 or 14 young males, young females, and then like moms and stuff all together laying next to this little like mud hole. And in the early morning at sunrise, and we heard a male, and like I have a video of me, and I'm like, Margot happened to be recording me, and I'm like, what was it like? I was like, did you hear that? And then like you hear it in the distance, and every one of those lions was laying down, lifted his head up, and looked like that way, and started like it like was on point, like okay, the male's up or like whatever's going on, like they instantly were like alert, and then like nothing happened for like a minute or so, and then they all put their heads back down and went back to sleep. But it's pretty cool. Like, and we couldn't find the male. The male was like over the hill or something, but
Yeah.
they heard it.
Yeah,
So
I mean
pretty
that
cool.
low frequency sound, it just travels a long way, right? Like
Are they
that's part
the
of why
are the
whales use it. Elephants use it. I mean, elephants create sound that like vibrates through the ground and they
yeah.
can hear each other through their feet. Like it's crazy.
Is the lion's not the loudest land animal, right?
I don't think so.
I think it's I guess howler monkey maybe
Yeah.
128 decibels. But it's pretty loud. I'm pretty sure they're probably one of the top. Tiger pistol shrimp, huh? It's one of the top 10 whales. Okay, off topic, but yeah, they're loud. But
Yeah.
hippos are loud, and you hear all these animals at night. And then it rains. Like it rained like every other night, and not just rain, like lightning and thunder,
Wow.
and it's like a lot. Like I never seen that much lightning. Like I've been to in a lot of storms in like Arizona at the river and stuff,
Hmm.
but this was like there was a flash of lightning. I mean, every like 3 seconds,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, what the heck?
Yep.
It's just normal. Like I'm
Yep.
like, and the people that live there are just like it's very normal, to see
Hmm.
storms, and it's. I wonder why there's so much lightning there.
I
'Cause,
think
like,
it
there'll
just
be
has to
nothing,
do.
and it
I
has
think
to
it
be with
just
the
has to
heat.
do with the heat and the humidity. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like it'll be like blue summer skies all day. Right around like 6:30, some clouds roll in,
Hmm.
like starts raining, starts lightning, thunder, and then it just ends by the morning, and then it's
Yeah,
done.
Massachusetts is like that in the summer too, where like you start to get the thunderclouds as you're coming in for the afternoon trip.
Uh,
Finish cleaning the boat, you get home, and then the storm would break out over the house.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's like we were sitting there watching the lightning. It's just like this is amazing. It's so good.
Well, I'm glad you had an awesome trip. I'm I'm a little jealous, but I'm stoked for you. I want to go someday.
You'll go. It's so
Someday.
amazing. You have to go. Everybody needs to go to Africa. And like the culture was super cool. Like, I mean, it was I don't know, a lot to take in. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
there's like you're driving down the roads and there's women carrying like 6 water jugs
Mhm.
barefoot, like, and
Mhm.
they're walking like a mile to a well.
Mhm.
And I was like, are they gonna? There's no way they're gonna, because I wouldn't be able to carry 2 of them. So there's no way they're gonna. I guess they'll get help once they're there, but like they
Mhm.
carry all the empty jugs and then they'll carry them back too. But like they can't carry 6 at once.
Yeah.
So and then there's and then there's people like herding cattle in the street, and I guess what happened, and it'll be kids like 5-year-olds are herding the
Mhm.
cows in the street,
Mhm.
and they're like, and there's like nothing around, like they're just walking them to where there's some grass to eat, and they're just like holding a little stick and
Just
following around these
following
cows.
around.
Yeah. And then I guess the kids have like had learned they don't do it, like the cars aren't supposed to stop anymore, but the kids had learned that the safari cars, because there's tons of safari cars,
Mhm.
that they just run the cows out on the road because you're not allowed to hit a cow. It's like you'll go to jail.
Yeah.
And so they stop the cars and then they're like, sweets, sweets, like give me candy, basically. So they like use the cows. So they have
Dude,
to
you're
like
telling me
avoid
that
cows.
as a child you wouldn't have done that if you knew that was a strategy. Come on now.
I mean, their strategies are pretty funny. Like, yeah. Yeah, the food. Okay. I guess they call it a Safari 10, but you're supposed to gain like 10 pounds while you're there, because every meal in these like hotels is, if it's not a 3-course meal, you're at have a buffet. So our first 4 nights were buffets for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then our next like camp had, I think, had like a buffet one night, but every other meal was like they bring you an appetizer, then they bring you your main, and then they bring you a dessert. And it's
Dang.
just like too much. But the food it's very heavily Indian influence. It's like a lot of Indian food. Like you're basically
Mm.
eating a lot of curry and chicken, and like
Mhm.
they have lamb and stuff, which I didn't eat, but yeah, a lot of like Indian food.
Is that just because that style of food is also popular in Kenya, or because you had chefs from there, or?
No, whatever they were I don't know how they were explaining it, but basically like I think from when they were building the railroads and stuff like that, that's just
Oh.
their food heavily influenced. It didn't seem like there was much. I don't really know what the African food was. There was only like a couple staples, but like
Mhm.
most of it had to do with Indian food.
Mm.
So just maybe it just might have been in that part of Kenya, or in that part of Africa, but yeah, a lot of Indian food. They baked a lot of pastries and breads and stuff, which was really
Really?
good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I saw
Um,
they made like a little anniversary decoration thing in your guys' room for you and Margot. That was really
yeah.
cute.
Chase and Margot's parents like they were in the car with Chase, and we were in our own
Mhm.
car for our anniversary day, and it was a travel day to the new place.
Mhm.
And so Margot's dad like bought wine and had him put it in the room, and then
Oh, that's so
Chase
nice.
and like Chase called it in for us ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they put us in the tent closest to the water too, which was really nice.
Oh,
So yeah, and
cool.
then and then they
How'd you spend your anniversary? Oh, we went to Africa.
yeah, well it was, and that just happened to be like during that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, oh, so what was kind of cool about the anniversary thing is they did like a little like they sang for us at dinner, which is a really cool
Aw.
song. I'll show you another time. But so they give you a cake, right? And they're singing this song to us, but we didn't know what it meant. And
Uh-huh.
because it's in Swahili, but they were actually kind of just saying English. They were saying kata keiki, kata. And so we were sitting there like, all right, and they're just staring at us, and they keep repeating the same song over and over, and we're just looking, and they wanted Margot to cut the cake. So we didn't know. So it's like a
You're like,
30-second
what?
video of us just like smiling. Like it was pretty fun. But yeah, it was amazing. So everybody go to Africa, but then also come whale watching in spring with us.
Yes. Yes. Well, thanks for sharing all of your safari stories. That was really cool. And thanks for listening. Wish our secret whale of the week should probably be Pachycetus, huh?
Yeah, or hippos. They can
Hippos.
be honorary whales.
Yeah, put hippos are whales in the
Yeah.
comments if you see the post. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.